I am Jim Collison, and this is the CliftonStrengths Podcast Season 3, recorded on March 15th, 2024. In this CliftonStrengths podcast series, we'll look at how to feel more energized and motivated at work, one theme at a time. And today's theme is self-assurance. If you're listening live, love to have you join us in chat. If you're listening after the fact, maybe on the podcast or on YouTube, and you have questions, you can always send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jaclynn Robinson is our host today. She works as a senior learning and development consultant. Join me for season 1 and 2 of the CliftonStrengths podcast. If you haven't caught those yet, don't stop this one. Just when you're done, you can go back and hear these themes for season 1 and 2 in that podcast series. But she joined me for those. Season 1, we looked at well-being at work. Season 2, CliftonStrengths role-based reports. Jaclynn, always great to be with you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Jaclynn, this season we're spending some time talking about bringing energy to work with your themes. Today we're talking about self-assurance. Let's talk about the individual first. What are some ways an individual with self-assurance can feel more energized by focusing on their basic needs?
Well, there's naturally that, inner sense of confidence and command over the workday. So this is a bit of a caveat, or a remember this too. And it's to remain open to input and feedback from others so that you can just continuously adapt your day based on critical priorities or changing needs. That's what I'd have to say about that one.
You think with self-assurance, how important, I mean, you just said be open to, or have open, you didn't say it in this, but what I heard was like open channels of feedback. How important is it for self-assurance from a needs standpoint to make sure they're listening? I kind of put that in air quotes, but here, however they get that feedback in, that about some things that they're doing and such. How important is that, do you think, for someone who has that high?
It's really important. I do think it's really important. And it's that confidence is strong to say, I've got this, I can handle the day. But without the feedback from fellow team members or matrix managers or managers, that day that you're confidently leading might be in an alternative direction than the new direction or the new critical tasks or key priorities. So it's important to just remain open or even do some check-ins, even if it's once a week, to say, this is what I'm focusing on. Is it still key?
Yeah. This is one of those themes that oftentimes, as we've talked about, the me to we, that I think by definition seems to focus on the individual. I think there's some, and maybe we'll get an opportunity in the next 15 minutes to talk about how it goes from me to we from a maturity standpoint. I think sometimes when folks see this up front, it always comes back to the me, but I think it's got some super powerful we functionality in it.
Me too.
Let's talk about that a little bit. In what ways can an individual with self-assurance feel more energized by focusing on their individual strengths and development?
Oh, I think it's really paying attention to your gut. When you think about where your energy is reflected in the day, what are you doing? What's your gut telling you whenever something just feels off? There are certain tasks or partnerships or projects or clients or customers you're working with, and it's leaving you draining or feeling less self-assured or confident. That's going to allow you to get to the next level of, is it because I need to develop myself further in this area and that's going to support my confidence? Or do I want to focus in a different area, and it's actually this responsibility or partnership or project that's draining me? Because then you can go to your manager and say, is it possible to delegate, eliminate, automate this so that I can focus on what does give me confidence and energy?
How important do you think that self-reflection cycle is for someone with self-assurance? In other words, what am I doing? What am I hearing? Where is it going? What is it doing? Those kinds of things.
Yes.
What would you say about that?
Yeah, I think it is really important. And I don't want to generalize it across for those that have self-assurance, but I think there is a party of folks that have that theme where self-reflection is just a natural day to day. And probably a majority feel that because it is such a intuitive feeling of I've got this, I know the path that I should walk. You're pretty
Mhm.
clear when you get that tug of war in your body to go, something's off here. What is it? Where is it coming from? What do I need to do about it?
Yeah, well, and from a need standpoint, not cutting off that feedback in order to get those self-reflective,
Mhm.
that feedback in to say, "How am I doing? How is it going? Where am I leading? Or where am I,
Yeah.
what impact am I having out there? Is it moving things?" Like,
Yes.
I think that's super important, right? Is it moving things? And that's not the only
Yeah.
thing, right? But I think as we think about basic needs and development of being able to not only have the channels open, but to be able to receive it in a way where it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't bounce off. Because sometimes
Mhm.
we get that, like, "How am I doing?" And then somebody's like, "Well," and you're like, "I really don't wanna hear this."
The
Right?
brain just shuts down from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't wanna hear this. And I think it's important for that development cycle for those that are high in self-assurance to be able to make sure they can bring that in a way that's constructive and
Mhm.
doesn't get shut off, right? Where
Yes.
it doesn't necessarily get shut off because of the purpose. Let's ask that question then. What are some ways an individual with self-assurance can, feel more energized by building partnerships, back to the me versus we, partnerships and finding purpose in their roles?
Oh, this is fun. Well, I think when we're thinking about individuals in the workplace that they enjoy working with, it's those who also hold meaningful and ambitious goals and facilitate a culture of, I'd call it calculated risk or
Yeah.
stretch goals or even a meeting of the mind and in the intuition. So having people that are saying, hey, yep, I believe in all of us and that we can get through this together. If adversity comes, we've got it. Let's put our heads together. Let's ideate. Something feels off. Let's talk about it. I think that's kind of the group that they would feel really comfortable working with and get energy from. But then in terms of the we and what they lend, regardless, I think they can lend that sense of self-confidence to other people to say, "Oh, you've got this," or "You can do it," or "I believe in you," or "I trust you," or "Go forth, be merry." You've got the
Yeah.
expertise or the experience to knock it out of the ballpark.
Well, we're gonna talk about this a little bit in the manager role, but I think there is, even aside from that, this opportunity to inspire. This
Mhm.
opportunity, like, you said, like, a
Agreed.
big audacious goal. Um,
Yes.
Sometimes, the someone who says, "You know what? We can get there. I know this looks
Yeah.
impossible, but I'm gonna help and we can get there," is inspiring in a way that takes a team to the next level, right?
Mhm.
We've all been on teams where we've gotten those, like, "Hey, we're gonna make this change and we're gonna do this thing and now things are gonna work this way, and and it's gonna be great," and everybody on the team is just like, "Oh."
Their
I
shoulders just go back
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, I don't know.
if
More
you have any
change."
empathy in seeing what's going on, right? And that person with self-assurance in those moments can stand up and say, or whatever,
Yep.
insert the right metaphor there, and say, "You know what? I think we can do this. I know I can. I want you to come along with me," right? And it's
Mhm.
inspiring, right? From that standpoint. Yes, a manager can do that as well. We're gonna talk about that in just a second, but I do think that's very powerful within a team that's
Mhm.
not necessarily from the chosen leader in there, but
Yes.
someone who can stand up, behind that and say, "Yeah, you know what? We can do this. I know we can get this
Yeah.
done." I don't know. You wanna add anything else to that?
I'd love your example because when we think about self-assurance being under the influencing domain, you just, I think, highlighted a great example as to why, because it can influence by inspiring people and lending them that sense of confidence that we can get through this together.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the "we" part, right? Lending
Mhm.
lending that hope, lending that motivation,
Yeah.
lending that confidence to others to say, "You know what? I We're gonna get there because you're gonna you're gonna be with us."
Yep.
And what a God, there's only a few times in my career have I actually seen that done perfectly. Man, it's inspiring when it does show up and you're like, you just wanna follow that person, you're just like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, let's do this thing." And it's maybe a possibility why I ran physically as much as I did in those days, is because I was inspired by some of those people who were like, we can do this. We can do it
Yeah.
together. Right? Let's talk about the
Uh,
manager. How can a manager with self-assurance support others with their basic needs?
Well, when communicating expectations, speak with confidence and clarity. Convey that, and this goes back to what you even said, but convey that you believe in the team's abilities to meet those expectations. And then when times are particularly busy or there's change or it just feels unsettled, express your conviction in the importance and achievability of those expectations.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, I was thinking about communication, the small c on this, of the art in the of the manager of communicating this inspiration. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
or just being an example for it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna we're required, I think of it like we're required to do this thing. Nobody's doing it. I'm gonna start doing it because it's what needs to be done, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
lead by example, right? I think of that self-assurance even when no one else is doing something, I'm gonna do the right thing because it's the right thing to
Mm-hmm.
do, and lead others in that process. I love that.
Oh, I love
How
that too.
can a manager with self-assurance help others to feel seen, heard, and valued as an individual?
Ooh, I think what automatically comes to mind is when you've got a team member and you've nudged them in a direction because you see the potential. They might not believe in themselves, and then they carry forth and they,
Yeah.
complete that project or they achieve that task. To be there at the finish line to say, "You did it. I knew you could," and you kind of celebrate that win and. Um, they're having their own confidence built up just in the action of your belief in what they could do. And then I think it's just to kind of to debrief in a sense to say, I knew you could do it, but you did it. So what helped you get there? And then help them start to deconstruct that process
Mhm.
so that they can replicate that experience and continue to build and grow and be celebrated by you as the manager with self assurance and their fellow team members.
Yeah. I think of this example. I've said this before on the podcast, but I was running a marathon and had we were running, the half and full marathon runners were all together. And we were picking up half stragglers as they were, so we're coming
Yeah.
in like mile 12. I'm out there, and I don't have self-assurance high. So there's other things, but this is the image I think for self-assurance. And I'm telling people, come on, jump in here. You can finish this with us.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this together, right? I think of this leader with high self-assurance of saying, "You know what? I'll get you there."
Yeah.
And as I rounded the
Oh, I love that.
corner in Lincoln, you round the corner and the half marathoners turn right and they go into the stadium. The full marathoners keep
It's the
going for
worst
it.
experience if you're full,
Horrible,
isn't it? Because you're like,
horrible.
"Ah, I could just turn, I could cheat."
Yeah. You're like,
Surely.
Maybe I just will turn at this point." No. Nope,
Why did
just
I
one
sign up
straight.
for the pool?
But turned to everybody and I waved like, "Okay, guys, take it in." And like 40 hands
That's
came
so
up.
amazing.
Like 40 hands came up with people, "See ya." And you just didn't realize
Oh,
along the way how many people we had picked up, right, in
gosh,
that
that's
process, and
amazing.
I just think it's a great example of self-assurance and
Mhm.
gently pulling others along with you as you're doing this, but not on a bicycle because I told you so, because
Yeah.
you're in the crowd doing the
Yes.
work, right, saying, "We can do this together."
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. How can a manager
Gosh,
with
that's good.
self-assurance build trust, inspire, and deepen team collaboration and community? Maybe my example goes towards that, but
I know.
what else
Like,
would you
can
add
we
to it?
steal that one?
Yeah.
I think that's just it too is and I think even coming together in the very beginning as they're considering that key target goal or that big team project initially to say what do you want to contribute to the team because you've got confidence in your ability to come through and then the team's all united on their respective strengths. They're inspiring each other along the way. It's, yeah, you've got this. It's the manager celebrating to say, this is how much closer we are to our goal in those touch point meetings. To have people talk about their wins and their successes, I think, in the room of how, they were able to come through, even if an obstacle occurred. And even if the team has an adversity, that leader with self assurance tends to say, okay, how did we overcome it? Let's celebrate it and
Mhm.
think about how we overcame it. the
Yeah.
calculated risks we might have taken to get to that ultimate mission or purpose that we have.
You know what I heard you say there is self-assurance managers with high self-assurance give recognition. And listen, all the
Hmm.
themes are responsible for that. But that's, as you were
Good
talking
call
about
out.
how
Yep.
powerful it's a powerful tool in that to take that confidence that I have,
Hmm.
if I have it, give that confidence to someone else using recognition as the tool to do that. I don't
Yeah.
think that's
You
natural
said it
for other
well.
people. Yeah, I don't think that's as
You said
natural
it
as we
really
think
well.
it is. Yeah, but
Yeah.
so friends, managers who have high self-assurance, we need this more now than we've ever needed it in the
Yes.
workplace because engagement is tanking at the moment, as our numbers would show. We need you doing that. Last question, how can a manager with self-assurance support the growth of each team member?
Ooh, well, they can empower team members in their career journey by asking guiding questions of times they've felt most capable. So examples might be, hey, ask them where they felt most comfortable and confident in their work over the past 3 to 6 months. What enabled that sense of accomplishment? Would that be something they want to have more autonomy over in the future? And so, you can start to study where they're feeling they have the most confidence and comfort and clarity and credibility in a situation, and then cultivate their development around that if they so choose, if that's the path they want to walk.
Friends, if you just heard that, Jaclyn had 3 questions in there that you should go back and write those down. Like, those are really good, Jaclyn. Those are really great questions for both managers and individual contributors. Just kind of thinking about that. I'm not going to repeat them because we just recorded it for you. Just
Yeah.
go back. But those are really, really important questions, Jaclyn, I think, in the development of thinking about growth and development of both the team and yourself in that.
Hmm.
Thanks for bringing those in. Final thoughts as we wrap this theme up today?
Ooh, well, I think you called it out. Engagement is at a low. People are kind of in that existential crisis mode still of what do I want to do next? What's for me? Do I want to stay in this role? Do I want to grow laterally or, um, you know, um, horizontally in the company? If I can find my words today.
Mm.
But asking questions to get at the heart of where they want to contribute and where they've seen their contributions. Um, land successfully within the company or with customers, I think is important. Where are they finding a lot of confidence in the work they're doing day to day? Someone with self assurance can really pull that out and then continue to help them cultivate those talents or those skill sets or those particular responsibilities they have. And that spikes engagement because they're having opportunities to do what they do best every day. So, please go forth and continue to lend that sense of self assurance to others and identify where others feel most self assured in the workplace.
Mm. Well said, my friend. With that, so we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of
Signing
all
off.
take advantage of all the resources. It was great. I was watching you as you were doing that. Typically, I'm looking at the notes, but it's awesome. Take advantage of all the resources we have available in Gallup Access. Head over to my.gallup.com. If you want more resources on self-assurance, we have that for you as well. Head out to gallup.com and search button upper right-hand corner. Just put in self-assurance and there'll be a little drop down that says self-assurance theme. Click on that and you get all the resources, all the webcasts, everything we've done on that is available for you. You can binge on it today if you want. For coaching, master coaching, or become a Gallup certified strengths coach, we do that as well. Send us an email. Coaching@gallup.com will help get you there. If you want to join us for the 2024 Gallup at Work Summit, it's coming up fast. And actually, by the time we release
Hmm.
this, it's critical. It might already be happening, but I bet we have another one in place. So live folks, head out to Gallup at Gallup@work.com. And for those folks who are listening to the podcast, head out to Gallup@work.com and you'll see the next one that's coming up there. Stay up to date on all our future webcasts by joining our Facebook or LinkedIn groups. Find us everywhere by searching CliftonStrengths. If you've enjoyed it, like, subscribe, all that good stuff that you're supposed to do now on social media. Thanks for joining us today and thanks for listening. If you are listening live, stay around for a little bit of mid-show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.